From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker.
The Tiger Cats have won 2 in a row and will try for their first 3-game winning streak of the season when they play in Toronto on Saturday against the Argonauts. Welcome to Ticats This Week. I'm RJ Broadhead, along with Andy Fantuz. Excited to have you in the booth with me for this game, Andy. It should be a great one. Are you excited for it?
Oh, definitely. Anytime I get a chance to work with the legend, RJ Broadhead, side by side, it's something I'm really looking forward to. But, of course, this game is going to be incredible. What an opportunity the Cats have to, go in and make a statement for that final 5-game stretch of the season, coming off a strong 2-game winning streak for sure, and going into Toronto, who's already clinched the East division title. So it's kind of interesting what they're going to be playing for and how they're going to manage their personnel, because they don't have another bye week left in the season. A lot of factors go in, but I think for the Cats, it's about having some pride and not getting swept in the season series.
Yeah, Andy, I think that's a great point about the bye. They had their byes all early, and yes, they're 11-1, their best start. They could maybe break franchise records this year, so they do have a little bit to play for in that sense, but they also want to be healthy, and that's one thing we know right now in the East Division, that the championship is going to go through Toronto. They're going to finish in first. That game's going to be played at BMO Field in Toronto, that East final. So this is a real chance for the Tiger Cats, even though they've not done well against the Argonauts in the first 3 games. In fact, they haven't led for 1 second in those 3 games. Can you believe that? That stat just is mind-boggling, that over 3 games, they have not had 1 lead.
I did not know that, actually. That is mind-boggling, because in recent history, I mean, the Cats have, if anything, had Toronto's number for the most part, and they've swept Toronto a number of times in previous years. But it's a different animal, it's a different season, and Toronto is the class of the league. Now, I think that stat is a little bit skewed, because I feel like last game in particular, it really came down to just a couple things. One was field position that was way lopsided in Toronto's favor, and they got out to that early 17-0 lead. And other than that, it was just the sacks. They gave up 5. The Ticats gave up 5 sacks, and the Argos didn't give up any. Other than that, I mean, you look at the stat lines, the flow of the game after that 17-0 lead. It was pretty even, or if anything, in the Ticats' favor. Other than that field position, so. I don't think they're going in underconfident or in their abilities, meaning Hamilton. I think that they know they can play with them, but it's just a matter of, okay, let's put some scare into that Toronto team and break their confidence a little bit.
Yeah, going back to that game, Andy, the wind was a big factor. I think all the points, at least in the first half, were scored with the wind, and the Argos had the wind to start, and bang, you're down 17-0 after a quarter. And that's the other thing. Fast starts. Tiger Cats finally had one against Winnipeg. They turned that into a victory, which they never trailed in that game, so that was impressive. But in the 3 games against Toronto, they've been outscored 32-0 in the first quarter. Not 1 first quarter point. So if they can take a little model out of that Winnipeg game and bring the fast start in against Toronto, how important do you think that would be for the Tiger Cats to get off to a good start, finally get a lead against Toronto, and not be down at least 2 scores at the half?
Well, if you look at any of the games this season, and whether or not they score a lot of points, if they don't give up points and they have some first downs and they get the other team to punt in the first quarter, they're in all those games and they win most of them. The games where they get down by double digits in the first quarter, they've lost all of them. So it's easy to say, well, if you go down 10 points, you're going to lose. But it's more about setting that tone and then being able to control the flow of the game, control the physicality of the game, the flow of the game. If you if the Cats go in there and are able to march down and get some points, force Toronto to punt, then they continue to have their entire playbook open offensively and defensively, really, and then they can kind of like dictate and set up plays for future quarters within that game, and run the ball, commit to that run, and get the offensive line involved, and then the defense can really have a lot of high rotation and pin their ears back and get after the quarterback and play loose and free and aggressive and go after balls in the air. And it just really is a momentum thing to get off to that fast start and be able to control that flow and tempo.
Yeah, I've talked to you about it. I've talked to Luke about it, other players, some coaches, and momentum's a thing. It is a real thing in football. I know it's talked about a bit frivolously at times, but when you have it, and we saw it a bit against Winnipeg for the Tiger Cats. Winnipeg would score, Tiger Cats would answer. Winnipeg answered a lot of times too, but just answering those scores has been so important, at least in the games the Tiger Cats have won, and not digging a deficit for them. So momentum is a thing, and if it can be on the Tiger Cats side, if they can get it early at BMO Field, I know there'll be a good representation of Tiger Cats fans. So hopefully it's loud and they hear them.
Well, with momentum, first thing that comes to mind is there was a lot of talk about that 124-yard extra point return for a touchdown only being 2 points. And I mean, the rule, I completely agree with the rule. I don't think it should be changed at all. But the hidden part in that is more than just the 2 points or the 3-point swing, if you will, because they missed the extra point, is that momentum. You go from it being 10-7 and here come the Bombers. They're the strong team that, the best team in the West, to now it's 12-6 and we're getting the ball back and we can go down and score again, and like these guys, they can't block us on special. We can block them. They can't tackle us. They got lucky to score, and that's kind of the mentality and that belief that it really does come from within. It's not something you just preach on the sideline or in the locker room. It's a feeling you get, and that's momentum, and that's what that is. You get guys playing and get everyone excited and really enjoying the game. You're gonna have better results.
Oh, well, I remember earlier in the year when the Tiger Cats were struggling, we'd talk about, they missed a field goal or a convert or should have cashed in on a touchdown, leaving points on the table and throwing an interception in the end zone, those sorts of things. Winnipeg, with that play, that missed convert, the Tyreek McAllister, you mentioned, 3-point swing, and Sergio Castillo missed a field goal. There's 6 points. Tiger Cats won by 6 points. So every team goes through it, but at least the Tiger Cats are on the good end of it right now. And Andy, I know, great offensive player. Your career speaks for itself. But the Tiger Cats offense has been really fun to watch. Over the last 4 games, averaging 28.5 points. What have you noticed in the difference in the Tiger Cats able to put up points over the last 4 games?
Well, there was a couple things that happened. One was there was a change at the play calling. So Scott Milanovich came in after the bye week, and you didn't immediately see that effect on the field because Taylor Powell also came in at the same time. So you got a young quarterback, and you can't completely change an offense in 1 week. But you've seen gradually, since that point, some changes in the look of the Cats. So you've seen more movement behind the line, more different protection schemes, moving the pocket around. So kind of playing into Taylor Powell's strength, which is he's getting better at throwing in the pocket, but he's noticeably improving at a high trajectory at moving around in the pocket or escaping the pocket while keeping his eyes downfield and making plays. And they're able to draw up some plays for that third level. So not just the short passes, the quick passes, the flats. Now they're taking shots on the corners and the seams and the posts and the double moves. And you can just see that Taylor Powell's not really, focused on all the bullets flying around him. He is focused on the progression downfield. He's focused on how planning out as the receivers are running, what's happening to the defense, where are the holes, where does my progression take me. So him and Scott Milanovich, that duo together, growing kind of together as they both came in, while the rest of the offense just continues to improve themselves individually and as a group, is what I've noticed. So giving long-winded answer, but kind of giving the receivers more opportunity to develop their plays downfield has led to a lot of success. And once you get that little feeling and that little taste of success, then you're eager to get those extra yards. You're eager to block, go give more effort into going to block for your running backs or your other receivers downfield, and the linemen as well. So it's just a full team complement. But I've just really noticed kind of a opening up of the playbook more than anything.
Yeah, and you're around the team. You know the players, Andy. In my experience, they've gained a lot of confidence in Taylor Powell, and everybody loves him. In fact, I was talking with James Butler yesterday, and he said he's not a rookie quarterback anymore. He's just a young quarterback. He's advanced past the rookie stage. How much importance is it to have that confidence in the quarterback? And I guess that has to be earned, too, when you're a young 24-year-old coming in, first taste of the CFL, getting that confidence. We talked about momentum being, an intangible thing that you really can't quantify. Confidence in your quarterback would kind of be in that category, too, wouldn't it?
It would be, for sure, and it's great that the team has his back, and I love that Taylor Powell seems to approach every game as the same. He's very, it doesn't matter who we're playing or where we're playing. It's just about what we do. That kind of mentality, very, very even keel. I think that kind of preaches confidence in a sense, and kind of a self-confidence. But one thing Coach O always says is, we're climbing, but we haven't arrived, and neither has Taylor Powell. I mean, make no mistake, I believe he can go into a hostile playoff game in Toronto and get the job done. But it's very easy for some variables to happen that he hasn't experienced before, and could really shake him. So these next few games, and there's a lot of things at play at the quarterback position for the Ticats. Matthew Schultz is healthy now. He was back up the last two games. Bo Levi might be coming back soon. So the coaches are going to have some decisions to make.
Yeah.
But Taylor Powell, I mean, you can't really be looking over your shoulder. You just got to focus on what you're doing. And if he can go, continue this win streak and continue his personal progression and improvement, and as well as the team and the offense as a whole, he shouldn't be worried about what's behind him, because he's the guy right now, and until something happens, I don't see why that would change.
Well, what's your belief as a player, Andy? Do you want the guy in there who's been hot and has proven he can do it, or say Bo comes back, he's future Hall of Famer, he hasn't played in a long time, he's under a 3-year contract, you've committed to him, do you throw him in? I mean, we're putting the cart a little ahead of the horse here, but it is a topic that Taylor Powell has forced us to talk about, because he's been so good, leading the CFL in completion percentage and 9 touchdowns, and he's really protected the ball well. Just 2 interceptions in his last 5 games. So it's interesting. What are your thoughts, Andy? Like, as a player, what would you like to see? Well,
first off, it's a great problem to have for Hamilton.
Yes.
Kind of the opposite of what they had 6 weeks ago. But if he goes into Toronto and gets this victory, and they can beat Calgary, and if they continue to win, I don't think you can take him out. Straight up. I mean, Bo Levi, the longer he can get healthy, the better the better off he is health wise and for himself. But when he did play this year, he didn't exactly be able to command the offense and command his starting quarterback position. Not saying he can't, because he is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and he could be, the future of the Cats for the next few years, and he could still lead this team to the Grey Cup this year. But if Taylor Powell continues on the streak he's on, I wouldn't want to pull him. But I also would realize that that's not my decision, and I can't control it as a receiver, for instance. And whatever happens, whatever they decide to do, you just got to make the most of it. So, it's one of those things that's just going to play out. But I feel like the organization is, like you said, committed to Bo Levi Mitchell. He's the big acquisition. He's the guy that's supposed to bring the Grey Cup, home to Hamilton finally after so many years. And so there's going to be some pressure there to put Bo Levi in when he's ready. But if Taylor Powell's, if play is speaking for itself, then what are you going to do? Like, you got to play your best guy. You got to give your team the best chance to have success, and sometimes that is riding that momentum or riding that hot hand, or just the flow of the team as a season as a whole. You gotta roll with it. You got to go with it.
Yeah, and nobody expected this. Nobody in the organization, no fans. Bo Levi Mitchell getting hurt. Okay, you got Matt Schultz. Okay, he's hurt now. Who's this guy? 24 years old. Taylor Powell comes in, and credit to Taylor. He has handled everything. And you talked about him in a hostile environment. I've talked to him a lot of times, and he is even keeled. And I've tried to get him going, and he will stay very even keeled. He will not break. And then, he's joking around. I'm talking to James Butler, and he's peeking through the window, making faces. So when he talks about himself, he doesn't want to do it. He just wants to go out and play, and his teammates rave about him. So this is a big test. We'll see in Toronto. One thing I wanted to ask you about James Butler, he's gone a couple of games now where he hasn't rushed for over 100 yards, but the team has won the games. So are you concerned at all? He's such a good player. When you need him, you just feel like he'll be there, and maybe hasn't had to carry the load in the last couple of games, which isn't a bad thing. But I know he's got some bumps and bruises. Are you concerned at all that James Butler hasn't put up astronomical numbers over the last couple of games?
Not one bit. I mean, I think he's still been an effective runner, effective pass catcher, effective pass blocker. I think he's still playing at an extremely high level. I love James Butler. That addition to the Ticats, I think he's great anytime he's in there. And then and even when, like, Sean Thomas Erlington comes in, he makes an impact. But I think that the way the offense is going right now is the way it needs to be going. I think they need to improve the passing offense. And you got to always have a balance, but you're not going to go in and win every game just by running the ball for 150 yards and having no passing attack. You talked about the Argonauts, for instance. They've got 2 dates circled on the calendar: the 12th at BMO at 1 p.m. and then the 19th, if they can win that game, in Hamilton for the Grey Cup. And their defensive line in front seven is the best in the league. Maybe arguably, but in my opinion. So they're a tough team to run against. And yeah, playoff football, you want to play physical, you want to run the ball. But I think the Ticats need to continue to improve the run, but have a focus on improving that passing attack and having those receivers, just the gel of that passing offense needs to improve for them to be an elite offense going into the playoffs and have their best chance of winning 3 games and bringing home that Grey Cup.
Before we wrap up the little chat on the offense here, Andy, there will be a change on the offensive line. Joel Figueroa, unfortunately, he's out again. So Jordan Murray moves over to left tackle, and Tyrone Riley comes in at right tackle. Will that have a significant effect on the Tiger Cats offense, do you think?
It will have an effect for sure. Joel Figueroa is a veteran. He's smart. He knows the game. He's physical. From the first day I ever met him, he was the guy that was running downfield and pancaking DBs and linebackers 20 yards downfield. And he's a guy that you want to have on your side and you want to have out there playing for you. So you can't really replace that. But at the same time, these other guys, like Tyrone Riley, has played a lot of games for the Ticats, and he's done an admirable job when he's been in there. Always room for improvement. But Jordan Murray's been, I'd say, pretty effective so far. Now moving over to the other side is a bit different for him, and so it will have some effect. But having those two big offensive linemen at tackle for you, you need that against the Argos. They have a strong defensive line, heavy rotation, many people with multiple sacks. So you got to be able to protect Taylor. And so I guess kind of long-winded is any shift you have in the offensive line is going to change things because you want that continuity. You want to continue to develop together as a group. So when you continuously make changes week after week, it's tough to keep that momentum or keep that progression as maximum as possible week after week. But these guys all have a lot of experience. Like Tyrone Riley has a lot of experience. Jordan Murray's been getting in the groove. So I don't expect there to be a huge fall off for this game.
And on defense, Andy, it's been a lot of takeaways lately. They seem to have even stepped up more. What have you liked from the defense recently?
I've liked the aggression. I really have. I like in the defensive backfield, for instance, at the start of the year, it seemed like there was just a lot of open receivers or a lot of, let's make sure we get the tackle on this guy after he catches the ball. Now I see a lot more of planning your, like in the back pedal, planning the foot, trusting your read, trusting what you see on film, and trusting what you see on the field as far as the quarterback drop, where he's looking to plant, the receiver coming out of his cut, and planting your foot in the ground and going full speed and trusting your training and your preparation to go after the ball, get a breakup, get an interception. I love what I've seen from that perspective. I've also seen some different tweaks in the blitz package or the QB pressure package, which I love. I absolutely love. You're seeing a lot more twists and stunts. You're seeing more defensive backs getting involved in the QB pressure. You're seeing D-line drop out. And Mark Washington's done this for years. He's had, we all remember Jared Davis and Julian Hauser and all these guys like getting pass breakups or interceptions. But Malik Carney had one last week. But you're seeing a lot more just some different styles and some guys kind of moving around, so trying to confuse the quarterbacks a bit more. We saw a great example of that last week when even a guy like Zach Caleros, probably one of the smartest, if not the smartest quarterback in the league, and studies film a ton, and you see Stavros Katsantonis, kind of hiding behind the goalpost and the referee right before a massive sack in the red zone to force a field goal. And those are those little things that I love to see. And one of the keys last week was open the playbook, and defensively, that's what we were talking about. You gotta show Zach something or give Zach something he hasn't seen and hasn't prepped for 1,000 times before. So going against a guy like Chad Kelly, that's going to be even more so important because he only has less than a year of games under his belt. And Ryan Dinwiddie does a great job of simplifying things for him and allowing him to know his progressions and his reads quickly. But Mark Washington, I think, is evolving, and I love that out of the defense.
Yeah, and Argos, the number is ridiculous. They've allowed 12 sacks in 12 games, so getting to the quarterback would be a key in stopping the Argos offense. The only problem is no team's really been able to figure that out. So that'll be a big test for the Tiger Cats. And if they can do that, get to Chad Kelly, do you think they'll be a little more successful?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. The amount of drives that have a sack in them that lead to a touchdown are very, very few. You probably know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me here, but it's...
I don't actually know the exact number, but it is hardly any. If you're sacked on in a series, hardly ever does it turn into a touchdown. Yeah,
it's like 5% or less or something like that. But that's been the secret, or not the secret. That's been a main reason for the Argos' success. They do control that line of scrimmage. They control the pass protection. They're able to run the ball effectively and kind of physically punish you offensively, and then defensively they get a lot of sacks and they have a good run defense. So that's been the main reason for the Argos' success. Yeah, they have playmakers. Chad Kelly's playing out of his mind. Their receivers are great. AJ Ouellette is a physical, talented downhill runner. They have guys in the defensive backfield who can make plays, get interceptions, turn them into touchdowns. They have an amazing punt returner, good kicker. Like they have
There's
everything.
No weakness here, Andy.
Right.
There's no weakness.
But we said this about the Bombers last week. I mean, they're arguably the best at many position groups as well in the league. So this is another opportunity for the Cats just to show that they belong in that conversation of, okay, which teams can win this Grey Cup this year?
It's pretty exciting, too. Montreal plays the early game on Saturday in Calgary. The early game in Calgary, the late game in Toronto. I don't know, whatever. But so we'll know by the time our game starts, or very early on, how Montreal fared against Calgary. So there is a chance, if Montreal loses, Ticats beat the Argos, they're alone in second place. They're sitting in a home playoff spot. Speaking with the team, they seem pretty confident going into this one. I think that win against Winnipeg gave them an extra boost. What's your feeling going into this game? Can the Tiger Cats do it, Andy?
I feel pretty good about it as well. And I think that the confidence from the team is important, and it's expected, and it's appropriate. They have been playing well. They just beat a Winnipeg team who I wouldn't say beat themselves. I wouldn't say Winnipeg didn't play that well. The Ticats just were the better team, and that bodes very well. You gotta go into Toronto and send a message. And Toronto, it's tough to know for sure if they're going to be a team that's going to pull out all the stops and keep their starters in the whole game and try to win by 1 point if it's a really physical game, or if injuries are happening. A lot of variables come into play. They may just not be at 100% personnel wise for the whole game, which obviously would help the Ticats a bit too. But I don't think the Cats should think about that at all. They should be going in to expect to beat the Argos, no matter who's out there, and beat the Argos at their best. And I think they can, and I think they should be confident. Now, you look at this 5 games remaining stretch, okay? So you got Hamilton and Montreal tied in the standings. Montreal has the tiebreak, okay? So both teams have 5 games left. Well, Montreal has Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, and Hamilton. So they have 4 games against teams that are currently not in the playoffs, and then finish with Hamilton. Hamilton has Toronto, Calgary, Saskatchewan, BC, Montreal. So 3 playoff teams, and then Montreal. So 4 playoff teams total currently. So maybe a tougher schedule if you're looking at it objectively. But regardless, if I'm Hamilton, I'm not thinking about, okay, can one of these teams beat Montreal? I'm thinking, if I win out, we can win out 11-7. We have a home playoff game. We control our destiny from here. No matter what Montreal does, they can win all their games. And as long as we win all our games and then beat them in the final game of the season, we still get that home playoff game. And we still are playing our best football, riding a huge win streak. So I would look at it like that. I'm not really thinking, oh, what's Montreal going to do? Hopefully we can lose once or twice and still get second. No, I'm thinking we gotta just go on a roll right now all the way to the Grey Cup.
Yeah, so much on the line in this Toronto game, a chance to really send a message. And the Tiger Cats, speaking of Toronto starters, Tiger Cats will play a big factor in that. If the Argos do what they did every game against the Tiger Cats this year and jump out to a big lead, then they probably will rest some guys. But the Tiger Cats, they got to get a lead. They got to keep this game close. They got to make the Argos keep their starters in there and beat that team and send a message. I can't wait for it. It's exciting. I think the Tiger Cats are peaking at the right time, Andy. And 7 o'clock kickoff at BMO Field in Toronto. If you're a Tiger Cats fan, you can go to the game. Let's get some black and gold at BMO Field. Cheer on the Tiger Cats. If not, you can listen on the Ticats Audio Network. Andy and I will have the call starting at 7 o'clock. Andy can't wait to see you at the game and call this one. And maybe the Tiger Cats can win 3 in a row for the first time this season.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, buddy. And it's going to be a great weekend of football. And I look forward to being in the booth with you.
It's been another busy week for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Luke Tasker and RJ Broadhead have covered it all, and now we would like to hear from you. Email us anytime at gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.